Okay. I feel like I'm a little bit paranoid because there's a thing that like it's usually the thing that I look at to say, is the stream going? But it was looking like that already. I'm pretty sure the channel is live. Hello everyone and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. Tonight we're going to play For the Queen.
The
Huzzah!
queen.
Uh,
Huzzah.
Smash.
uh, I am Christiana Ellis, and tonight I am not the dungeon master because we're playing a different game. But the my fellow players tonight: Paul Fisher,
Good evening.
Jenny Meltzer,
Hello.
and Starla Hutchton.
Hi there.
So we are down a player tonight with Mark Kilfoyle. We're back after my 2 week travel, and so we wanted to play something, but we since we were down a player, we decided to play the brand new edition of For the Queen, which apparently has some new prompts and new artwork and other assorted stuff. Did I get that right, Jenny?
Yeah.
All right. So, if you're watching the Twitch stream, you'll see on the screen that there is a bit of artwork referred to as the Queen. That is because in the game of For the Queen, you pick from many different cards that all have a variety of uh, tonally and visually different queen choices. And so off stream, we have pre-selected the one that you see here. If you're listening to audio, she's kind of an elegant looking woman with sort of blue skin and glowing eyes and white hair, fancily styled with little moons and stars and everything, and she looks like a moon elf or something.
hmm
Uh, so I would explain the rules, except that that is actually what you do first when you play this game. Is you go through and everyone reads through the rules. So perhaps we should do that. And since you have the actual physical cards that we'll be dealing with, do you want to direct that process, Jenny?
Yeah. I can go ahead and get started. I posted the cards in our thing, so that way when it gets to your number, you would just read that number, and we'll just go around until we read them all. So, we'll go clockwise, which for me would be Starla, then Paul, and then back to Christiana.
Okay. Here,
Does
let
that
me.
work? I don't know.
Well, I was so let's
Sure,
see.
that works.
What would be clockwise the on the Twitch layout would be if we went Jenny, Starla, Paul, me. That would be
Yep.
clockwise.
Yep. That's how it is on my screen too.
Okay,
Perfect. Okay, so I will read the first card and we'll go from there.
great.
So the first card, go around the table clockwise, taking turns reading these cards aloud.
The land has been in turmoil for as long as any of you have been alive.
The Queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power.
The Queen has chosen all of you and no one else to be her retinue and accompany her on this journey.
She chose you because she knows that you love her.
You are welcome to look through the illustrated cards for inspiration. If there is one that players are drawn to, display it on the table to represent your queen.
Find the card that reads, "The Queen is under attack. Do you defend her?" and remove it from the question card deck. Then shuffle the remaining question cards and place them face down in the center of the table.
Place the card that reads, "The Queen is under attack. Do you defend her?" randomly into the middle of the question card deck for a game that lasts about an hour, or into the bottom third of the game or bottom third of the deck for a game that lasts about 2 hours. Brief editorial insert. Those time estimates are for people who don't elaborate as much as we tend to in this game. So I would say if you're watching this and not familiar with the game, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into those specific timelines, but we'll see.
When you have read the rules cards, take turns drawing question cards and reading them aloud. Interpret your card and answer it however you wish. But since we are playing virtually, I will be reading the question cards, but we will still go around and answer them.
Other players may ask you questions or make suggestions on your turn, but whether you answer those questions or include those suggestions is entirely up to you.
Place the X card somewhere where everyone can easily reach it.
If you encounter a question or an answer that you don't want to be included in the game, tap the X card. That content is removed from the game. And we don't have that physically here because of our online nature, but we've also played well enough that I think we're all comfortable, calling it out if and when we need to. But it's a good safety tool for the game.
If you draw a card that is removed this way by yourself or someone else, simply draw another card and continue your turn as usual.
You can also choose not to take a turn on any round. To do so, say pass. The next player can answer the question you drew or draw a new one as they prefer.
Continue answering the question cards until the Queen is under attack card is drawn.
Each player should answer that question in turn. Then the game is over.
And the last one, I'm not even going to read it because it doesn't apply.
That
That was the one of like whoever wants to can draw the first card.
Well, I mean, we can still say whoever wants to can be the first person to answer a question from a question card.
Yeah. So who wants to be the first to answer?
I'll give it a shot.
All right.
Okay. In your eyes, what makes the Queen beautiful?
Her flawless blue skin.
Is that an unusual skin tone in our world?
I think the hue of it is a little bit unusual, but people have many different colors of skin.
But hers is especially striking.
Yes.
Right.
It's flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Not a blemish.
Nope.
Do we want to go then like clockwise that way then? So
Yeah,
that Christiane would be next.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Can you repeat the questions? I have no audio memories there.
Well,
yeah.
no. Well, we don't all answer the same question.
Okay.
We
So
take
you're saying,
turns.
okay,
So that
next
question was
yeah,
just for Paul, and so
Yep.
the next one
Gotcha.
would be for me.
The Queen knows something about you that no one else does. What is it?
The Queen knows that I once considered breaking the laws of the queendom by taking a bribe to release a prisoner from jail, and I was really tempted and almost followed through with it. But then when I was on my way to release this dangerous prisoner, I just encountered her, and she just saw right through me, and knew somehow that, maybe it was even only in my own head that she understood what was happening, but just one look and I felt like she knew, and and so I didn't go through with it. And she never said anything, or there was no consequences. But of course, all it took was her look for me to remember my duty.
Hmm. What would have been the consequences if you had gone through with it?
Well, so I think the there's two pieces of that. One is that this particular prisoner, I think, was a dangerous dissident that had been, arrested for spreading, like, for sedition and spreading vile untruths about the Queen, in an attempt to destabilize her rule, and so. But they had, wealthy backers who were trying to get them out, and that's thus the bribe. So the consequence of them being released is that presumably they would have returned to that treacherous activity. But the other piece of the consequences, it might be like what would happen to me if I did it or if I got caught. I think certainly if I were to, have been caught, accepting the bribe, I would have been exiled. But I think even if I hadn't been caught, I would know. I was already feeling conflicted about it.
Does anybody else have any questions for her?
That was incredibly thorough.
Mhm. Um, why are some others at the royal court jealous of your relationship with the queen? Um, I think they get jealous because we giggle a lot when we're together. Um, we've known each other since we were children, and I think we have a lot of little secret private jokes that only we're on the inside of, and I think that makes other people envy my closeness with her.
I I I feel like, is that sort of giggly attitude something like, it's one thing if she only does it with you, but like, is her demeanor, as we see in this artwork most of the time, where she seems kind of above it all and more stoic?
Yeah, she's pretty stoic. And she's very serious a lot. Like she takes everything very seriously. She's a no nonsense sort of ruler. So, I mean, given the fact that, things have been in turmoil for so long, she doesn't let her guard down very often. So when she does, and we're together, it makes people a little jealous.
So you said you've known her for a really long time. How long? Like how old were you when you met each other?
Um, I am 3 years older than her. And my mother is her mother's sister. So we came to visit a lot
Hmm.
when I was a child, like, and we went on vacations together, to our summer estates and things like that. So we grew up together.
So I like, not in direct line of succession, perhaps, but part of the royal family.
Hmm.
Okay. Very nice.
Are you ready, Starla?
Yes.
Queen made a dire threat before this journey began. Do you think she'll carry it out?
She doesn't typically say things that she doesn't mean. So, yes, I fully believe her. I'd take her at her word.
Are
Does that
you
scare you? Sorry, Paul.
Well, it keeps people in line. Not to say that she's like cruel or, intentionally mean. She does not have the time to waste. She's very busy. she values honesty. So when she says something, she means it.
Was the threat against people within her queendom, or was it against the people that we're going to negotiate with?
I feel like it's a little column A, little column B. Um, because there were some people that did not think this was the best course of action, seeking this alliance, and they tried to undermine it. And she gave them a single warning. And there was no proof, but there is like potential that they were trying to work these things on behalf of entities in this other kingdom that were against the alliance.
Well, we already know that there's a dissident presence in the capital.
Paul, did you have the same question as me?
I did. I did.
Oh, sorry. So, what do you do that pleases the queen on this journey?
She feels safe around me. I scout ahead. I deal with any people that come up and try and get too close to her. And I always seem to be in the right place at the right time to shield her.
Nice. Are you like a bodyguard specifically, or do you have some other function?
I'm an advisor,
Okay.
but I'm also a warrior and fiercely loyal.
Interesting. So like a master at arms or something.
Yeah, something like that. When she wants to talk about going to war,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or someone else that's threatening war and how to keep us out of war, I'm usually the first person that she talks to.
Here's a question. You said that she feels safe with you. Is
Hmm.
she is she right to? And by that I don't mean like you're going to betray her, but more a matter of like, should she feel safe broadly, or are you trying to reassure her to bolster her confidence when it's actually more serious, or are you confident that she is protected and safe under your care?
I'm confident that she's protected and safe, but I am still just one person.
Mm.
You know, a gunshot or an arrow or poison will still disable me. And I wonder if she relies too heavily on me being there as just one person.
Have you have you ever had an instance where you were really afraid that you wouldn't be able to protect?
Several times there were there was unrest, and um, most recently um, there were there were was an angry crowd that kind of broke through, and it required a stern talking to and a very loud commanding voice, and between the two of us we were able to calm them down long enough that we could withdraw from that area, but it was a knife's edge. And there were far too many of them, and they would have overwhelmed me in seconds. We should have had more men with us.
So, what do you do for the queen that anyone else could do? And why does she make you do it?
I I think that I'm not an especially highly placed. I wasn't an especially highly placed functionary. I wasn't like a senior advisor. I wasn't part of the nobility, and so I think it was actually kind of a surprise to most when she picked me. But I kind of understood intuitively that it's because of this connection that where she understood a that I'd been tempted, but that b once seen by her in that state that I would never do it again. And so I am the person who kind of does all the little miscellaneous gopher tasks that are beneath others that are more important. But uh, she knows what I know, which is that I was tempted once by sweet words and offers of financial security, but having considered it and rejected it, I would never consider it again. And she has my undying loyalty.
Do you ever feel resentful that she's punishing you by making you do all these menial tasks?
Oh, I don't think of it as a punishment at all. In if anything, um, I feel like she has rewarded me by uh, in giving me another chance, and so I feel like everything that I can do for her is helping to serve a queen that I believe is worthy. And so even if that means doing the laundry and you know going to buy food or plucking the chickens or whatever needs to be done. Space
What's the
chickens.
worst task you ever got assigned?
Well, naturally there are certain, in the traveling process, there are occasionally things that are, filthy that should not be permitted near the queen until they have been cleaned. And there are certainly times where I have been sent in to prepare a facility for someone like the queen, and they're not clean when I start, but they need to be clean when I'm done.
You once saved the queen's life. How? Um, when we were kids, we were playing at the lake, and she hadn't quite learned how to swim yet, and she fell in off the docks. So I dove in and I saved her because she couldn't swim. She immediately sunk like a stone and was going straight to the bottom. And even though it wasn't that deep, like her fear paralyzed her completely, and she just lost control. She was only like 4 or 5, but I brought her back up and got her out of the water.
Nice. Has she ever learned to swim since?
No, she's terrified of the water. That was a horrifying experience for her. Like she's PTSD. She has nightmares about it. When was the last time the queen embarrassed you?
Oh, trying to think good context for this. Okay. So the reason that she brought me along is because I've learned how to do this very intricate braiding that not many people can do, and she really likes it. And I enjoy displaying my handiwork because they're all eyes on her, right? Well, once I had put in just hours and hours of work doing these incredibly tiny little braids and weaves all through her hair, and she decided at the last minute that she didn't want that and threw a veil, like a silk scarf, over her head instead. And that was incredibly embarrassing for me because I take a lot of pride in what I do.
Is do you have other duties, or are you just the? I mean, hair is important. I'm not questioning that,
Right.
but
Well, I do other things like while she like I help her get dressed and
Hmm.
I'm kind of a handmaiden, right?
Sure.
So I do other general things, but like that specifically, that's my main skill, and that's why I became important enough for her to take with us. Has
Did
to
you
look good.
I
did
mean,
you get angry with her for putting on that veil and hiding your handiwork?
Anger's not the right word. I may have cried a little bit in private, but she didn't like it.
Did you ever tell her how you felt?
Oh no. No, no, no. I'm very grateful for my position. I worked hard to get here. So yeah, I don't want to jeopardize that. It's important to be able to read her moods because sometimes she's in a very talkative mood and other times she just needs the peace and quiet. So it's another skill that you have to develop in kind of reading her moods.
The queen once asked you why you serve her. Did she get an honest answer?
Hmm. No. I told her about being loyal to the queendom and to the line of succession and to her. Um, but um, if I'm being honest with myself, um, I'm in love with her, but I know that I'm not royalty and she can't marry me, and she's not the kind of woman who takes up with men unless she's getting married. So, uh, I don't know if she knows, but um, I would happily fight 100 warriors in a day to keep her safe um, and to keep my secret.
Does anybody else know your secret?
My mom. Can't
Moms
hide
always
anything
know.
from mom.
I'm just suddenly imagining you're occasionally home for brunch or something, and your mom is just like, well, maybe if you just ask her, she's the queen, she could change the rules. You should go for it, honey.
I like I could hear her voice exactly like that. Like when you started doing it, I was like, I know exactly what she sounds like. Are there any circumstances under which you would confess this to her?
Um, I don't know. I guess if there was an army at the door of the throne room and we only had minutes to live, uh, I might tell her, but I think I'd still be, you know, looking for, oh, I don't know, a manual on how to fly a helicopter and get us out of there instead of uh, worrying about my feelings and my mother's desire for grandchildren.
Mhm. Do you think you would feel the same way if she wasn't the queen?
Hmm. We'll never know. I've never known her as anything but.
Interesting. Some would say the queen is not your queen. Why do you serve her anyway?
I think that part of the argument that the dissidents use um, is that as she expands the queendom's territory, that occasionally she is annexing regions that don't want to be part of the queendom. I think that's the dissident's version of the events. When I think, I would say that it's more that there's a subset of the population that doesn't yet understand what is on offer here. And because I come from one of the newer annexed regions, that was why they approached me, because the dissidents thought that I might be sympathetic to their cause because I was from one of these newly conquered, as they say, uh, regions. But I serve her anyway because I believe that she is worthy of service.
Did she improve the quality of life for your people?
I think that there are people who have refused to engage with her generosity, and have found that their lot has suffered as a result. But that's because of their own choices, not because of her rule. You know, this is the dramatic irony light flashing. But I think that there are some people who have suffered, but you know I think that's, they didn't have to. It's because they're choosing to resist what could be a good thing for them.
Hmm.
Are any of
What
the mem-
bring? Oh, go ahead.
are any of the members of your family suffering under her rule?
I think I don't have much family. I think there's I don't have anyone directly that is in that state, but I also kind of don't really have any immediate family other than the people that I've met in the service here. I kind of grew up as like uh, having to make my way, not quite on the streets exactly, but certainly growing up in kind of a workhouse sort of situation. But I proved myself and have worked my way towards up the ranks by being willing to work hard and having an attention to detail.
Um, what brings out the queen's cruelty? I think deliberate defiance. Um, People who purposely go against the things that she believes in to try to prove a point.
Hmm. Is that um, is that something that is as true of you know broad dissidence and that sort of thing as it is like what if it's as simple as disagreeing with her about favorite breakfast foods or anything like that? Does she react the same way to disagreements of a petty nature?
Um, I don't think it's it's as bad about petty things, but she can be a little cruel um to those who are like, well, I think eggs are stupid. I think eating a chicken's eggs is cruel, and she would, you know, lash out a little bit just because chickens make eggs, so we can eat them, obviously.
Stupid chicken eggs.
Your fire. Starla, did you have a question?
Yeah, but I can't remember.
Okay. Well, now you're getting a question. There is a rumor about you and the queen back at the royal court. How did it start, and is it true?
Well, these braids take a lot of time, right? And sometimes there's, advisors coming in and out speaking to her as I'm, working my magic. But a lot of times, it's closed quarters, right? Because she's, in the middle of changing or whatever. So there's been a few rumors that, maybe there's more to our relationship than just, I do her hair. It's not true. I tend to just kind of ignore them rather than deny or anything like that. I feel like paying too much attention to them gives them more credence. So I just try to mind my own business, let them talk. I'm not here for it. I have a job to do.
um, are these rumors widespread, or is it like, do you think like how how much do you think people think it's really true versus people who are maybe trying to start drama?
Yeah, I think it's more people are bored and trying to start drama. Like if there's no scandal of the day, they'll revisit these old
Hmm.
rumors. Um, yeah, she has the best hair in the kingdom, so I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize that. Um, but yeah, it's just people talking and saying stuff. It's not none of it's true, and I don't think It's not really outside of the palace either. It's
Mhm.
just people gossiping.
So that being said, has a part of you ever wished it was true?
Well, I don't think I would say no to anything that she asked of me. She's not ugly.
Have you ever gotten revenge on people who have dug up some of these old rumors because they were feeling bored?
Well, I lady never tells. Um, maybe once or twice I may have spilled a little bit of liquid in the hall when I knew a particular person was going to be passing by. Um, Yet accidentally would spill something, and then of course I have to go fetch something to clean it up. So I'm not around when whatever happens happens.
Uh, here's a question. Even though we're hearing from you that it's not true, what like what would happen if it were true, right? Like, is there, what would the consequences be if, for example, she really was, involved with someone like you? Would that be something that would be a tut tut minor scandal, or would that be a big deal?
Well, I don't think it would be too big of a deal for her, but certainly for me, it would cause problems. If the gossiping got too bad, then I could lose my position because she doesn't encourage these things,
Mm.
these rumors and things like that. Like she wouldn't want things that are less than proper to be talked about. So not saying like she wouldn't like have me killed or anything like that, but I probably would not have a job anymore.
So the queen ordered you to do something that you knew you would regret. Have you forgiven yourself for doing it?
I've never given it a moment's thought. I didn't want to do it. I regretted doing it at the time, but I am the Queen's man.
So does that mean you've forgiven yourself, or did you just sort of block it out?
I I accept the fact that I had no choice. There was nothing to forgive. I did my duty. I
Mm.
mean, it's
What
not
was
like
it?
I
What was it that you had to do?
murder.
Ooh, is it like?
Just casually toss that murder.
Just
Mhm.
Murder.
Who was it?
Um, it was actually um, a branch of her family,
Oh.
a small group of family, and um, they were conspiring um, to uh, uh, create a background for a fake heir and uh, make a claim for the throne. They were stupid, bigoted, vain. They wanted power for the sake of power. with no idea of how anything worked or why anything worked. They didn't care about people, um, traditions. They didn't care about anything but themselves. And I killed them all. I personally thought there were other ways to handle it, but in the end, I was told I didn't have a choice, and I did my duty.
So, when was the last time the queen hurt you?
Hmm. Trying to think. Uh, um, I think that by and large, I think of myself as, it is my service, my duty, my calling to basically just do whatever needs to be done. And I don't expect thank yous or anything like that. I'm doing my job, my duty. And so, even when the tasks required are, unpleasant or hard or distasteful, it's not something where like I'm not looking for sympathy or even gratitude necessarily, but I think that there are times when maybe I question a little bit this idea that like I don't think of this as a punishment, because I think that there are some times where there's maybe just a tiny part of me that wonders if she is telling me to do things just to see if I will and not because she really needs it to be done. And it's not so much that I think it's like a punishment as much as I feel like she's making me prove myself over and over again. Like she's testing me, but not even because she thinks that I won't do it, but because she enjoys provoking it in that way. Like she just, it's like I think sometimes it feels a little bit like she's treating me like a toy or a doll that will just do whatever she wants. And I will, but not because I'm, a puppet that has no thoughts and feelings, but because I choose to. But I sort of, I want it, I guess I would hope that she could see that and not um, treat me as though I'm, just a robot to be, given emotionless commands.
How often do you cry because of the way she makes you feel?
I think I don't have enough privacy to let that happen. Um,
I'm
di-
so sad. I'm sorry. Oh,
I think that there have been times that I've had to stop myself because I don't, it would be completely inappropriate to react that way um, in front of any of the members of our retinue here, or for that matter, even if it seems that I'm momentarily alone, I might be called upon again at any moment. There might be someone unexpected. I cannot afford to let it be observed by anyone. Even when it seems like I'm alone, that might be only a momentary thing.
And suddenly you've become the saddest character in this retinue.
What are you talking about? I'm grateful. She saved me.
What question do you wish you could ask the queen? And what keeps you from asking it? Um, she has this necklace that belonged to our grandmother, both of our grandmother, and it was given to her. And there have been many times that I have wanted to wear it, but I am afraid to ask because I know in my heart that she'll say no.
Have you ever hired someone to steal the necklace?
Maybe.
I would.
I
Oh,
mean,
I would assume that if it were to be stolen, it would certainly mean that you couldn't wear it publicly. But it could be a case. Would you rather have it without being able to ever show anyone, or to let
no,
her? Yeah.
I would rather that she have it because at least then I can admire it
Hmm.
and think about it, um, and talk about it openly.
Hmm.
You know, like, oh, that was our grandmother's necklace. It just makes me really sad that I can't wear it.
Is the hesitation about the theft itself, or about the idea of having a secret from her?
Um, I think it would be too difficult to keep that kind of secret from her. She has her ways finding things out.
Hmm.
Does she know how much you want the necklace?
I'm sure she does. Um, I mean, she was both of our grandmother, and it was it wasn't just because it was expensive or beautiful, but because it was a gift that our grandfather gave to her. So it has sentimental value. But I sometimes think that she just keeps it so she can hold it over me, that it was given to her and not me. So, Starla, when did you know you were in love with the queen? Like the irony is cracking me up so bad.
Well, and like if you feel like it contradicts something that you were wanting to hold on to,
Mhm.
you can pass. But like,
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one. Paul already claimed it, so
That's true. So, um, I mean, Paul, you can answer that question, and Starla, you can have another one if you want.
uh,
Um,
uh, yeah.
oh, yeah, well,
No,
one
go ahead. Go ahead.
wasn't. Okay. Um, I think it was the first time that we were really on the brink of war. Um, I was positive at the time that the Queen uh, didn't understand just how horrible it was going to be for our people, and how many people would die, and that the repercussions would last for decades. Um, we stood to lose a large percentage of our population, maybe as much as 15 or 20%. Um, and I really thought that she was acting like a child uh, in public. And then uh, when we went into a more private setting, um, it became clear that she was putting on an act to make us actually look a little bit weaker than we actually were. Um, and she confided in me that her plan was to make us look weak so that the other country would attack before they were really ready. And um, we sent them all home in body bags with very little losses of our own. And the fact that she really, really understood that that was, one of the best ways to play it, and was able to carry it off, um, uh, really earned my love and respect.
That just makes me revisit my previous question of would you feel the same if she wasn't the queen? And this sounds like you are in love with the queen more than the woman, which is not a judgment. I'm just that's kind of just my perception, which is not,
Uh,
you know.
yeah, I cannot separate the two. This is the only thing that I have uh, to judge her on. But my goal at the time was to do what was best for our nation, and she was able to dissuade an enemy um, at great loss to them and very little loss to us. And we haven't really heard a peep out of them since.
Have you have you ever been with the queen when she was when she had her guard down and she was just being a person?
I'm not sure. She's so good at controlling her features and her emotions. If she had wanted to be a movie star, she would be the best actress on the planet. Um, she has absolutely incredible control, and there are times that I think she's letting her guard down, but I really don't know.
Like the cat rolling on their back, exposing their belly. Is that a real invitation?
Always a real invitation. It's how you respond to the cat rolling on the back. You don't go straight for the belly. You have to start around the edges, otherwise, you get the claws. But if you work up to it, if you earn the cat's trust, well, then the belly is fair game. And belly tickles are the best.
So, going backwards, you arranged for the queen to be ambushed on this journey. What did they offer you?
Yeah, call me out like that.
That's how the cards work sometimes. You already,
Uh,
like, you could pass again, but you did pass once already.
um, what did they offer me? They offered me her hair.
Make your
Like it,
own wig?
yes, her actual hair for like when she like the ultimate humiliation because she's just got this amazing long luscious flowing mane of hair and
Dang.
it's gonna fetch a real high price because you know when the worst happens um they're not going to preserve her beauty because they want to cause as much like it's as much to demoralize the people as it is to get rid of her.
Hmm.
Now, will you actually sell it or will you wear it?
Neither. I will keep it, but that's for me.
Gosh, that's almost somehow you came up with a creepier answer than yes, I will wear the stolen hair of my queen that
Of
I
my dead
betrayed.
queen.
Build a shrine in my wardrobe.
Where I will continue to braid her flowing locks, even without her
Ever and
head
ever.
attached. Oh my.
Wow.
Any more questions?
I ain't touching that one.
I maybe might have listened to a few too many true crime podcasts. Sorry.
Same.
You've been watching Scare the Suburban White People, which is what we called the what was that FBI psych department show? We were talking about it earlier.
Criminal
Oh, Criminal
Minds.
Minds.
Criminal Minds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a little problem, but
Same.
Yeah.
My weekends consist of like murder and more murder.
I should have a bumper sticker that says, "Ask me about my interest in medieval torture devices." But
So, Christiana, you were once summoned to a private meeting with the Queen. Why did you feel disappointed afterward?
um, I thought that that this was the meeting where she told me that she was gonna have me come along on this retinue, and I had thought going in that she was gonna somehow, like, she had finally decided that she was gonna exile me after all. Um, and so that's when I went in, I thought that was what was going to happen. I had done my best to do my duty, and not ever follow through with any of the violations that I had previously considered. But I thought that it's like it was always just waiting for the other shoe to drop. But then for it to become instead this completely trusted position, I think there was a part of me, maybe part of me thought that since I knew that I had hesitated, I almost questioned why she would choose me. Like, did she understand that I was really that committed? But I almost couldn't help but question her judgment a little bit. I wondered why I was the person that she would choose for this. And as much as I felt honored, it seemed like such a strange choice, and it was so counter to what I expected that as much as I hoped to not disappoint her, I just still thought it made me wonder if there was some other motive or some other secret thing going on that I wasn't made aware of. And I think it was, partly it was partly disappointed just because I think I had built up in my head so much that it almost seemed like maybe it would be a relief to have the question finally done with. But now it's, you know, I'm on a string in some ways, and um, and I feel like I'm being, you know, I'm being directed like a puppet to some end that I still don't, that I still can't see. And I'm going to do my part, but I wish I knew what was really happening.
Are you afraid that she's going to sacrifice you in some way?
I I feel like in some respects that would be the most straightforward of the, like, if she sees me as expendable, like I could at least like understand that. Like I'm not, before she chose me for this retinue, I mean, I wasn't anyone who was terribly important. Um, and, I couldn't even explain to anyone why she chose me. It seemed so strange to everyone else, and people thought that it was suspicious, and I couldn't persuade them otherwise because I agree. I think if I were anyone else, I would think it was suspicious too. And if she just thought it was because I was expendable, that was one thing. But I in it, I think there's a part of me that just feels like somehow, if it were just that, I wouldn't feel this anxiety about it because I kind of, that's part of being in the service is that I might have to give my life for her, and I'm at peace with that. But I sort of feel like if that were it, why wouldn't I be allowed to know that? She asks people to die for her all the time. She commands armies. Um, but this feels like it must be something else.
Hmm.
Do you have a question, Paul?
No.
No? Okay. What do you do that disappoints the queen on this journey? I talk incessantly about myself, which, you know, why wouldn't I? But that really gets on her nerves. And she's disappointed because there's so much more at stake. And all I can think about is, like I want to get married, and I'm really hoping that my prince will come, and she is just not happy with me about it.
So we're on our way to broker an alliance. Do you think that a political marriage of some sort for you might be part of the anticipated terms? Is that why
I
you're here?
mean, I hope so.
Oh.
That would be nice. Then maybe, like, we could finally be equals.
Mm. Do you know who it would be, or is this just a complete black box that just has potential in it?
I choose not to answer that.
Mm.
Would you go to war against your cousin if you were the queen of a neighboring country?
I mean, I also choose not to answer that, which is an answer in itself.
She just wants that
No.
necklace.
Um, the necklace is what started it. Um, I will answer that. Yes, I would. But I'd like to think that she doesn't know that. But she does seem to know everything, so maybe she's bringing me here to have me murdered. I don't know. So, Starlo, what makes you want to abandon the retinue? And who besides the queen makes you stay?
Well, there is the threat of, possibly being uncovered and, hung for treason or whatever. That's kind of compelling. But it would also be a little suspicious if I just like up and peaced out. Um, what makes me stay is that if I don't, well, one, it would look suspicious. But two, if I don't go along with this, I will be killed by this other, the people who have arranged the ambush. I mean, they still might, because, no witnesses, loose ends, that kind of thing. So, um, we'll see.
Wasn't there another part of the question?
Was there?
Was
That it was,
Who besides the queen
oh, who besides
makes
the
you
queen?
stay?
Mm, her cousin.
Don't start talking about the ambush like that.
And I couldn't abandon her.
When was the last time the queen was gentle with you?
Oh, it was back in 1910. Um, seems like it was a very long time ago, and it was very surprising. She doesn't really do gentle. It was very confusing. But, oh, it's been decades.
Like when she was 5?
No, um, I mean, early 20s, maybe.
Interesting.
why do you think, as someone who is very rarely gentle, why was she gentle with you on that occasion?
Um, I like to think that, um, she saw something in me, uh, worth getting close to. That, uh, maybe there could be more between us. But that that's just, It's just a fantasy in my head.
Just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
So the journey isn't just about diplomatic negotiations. What else do you suspect is going on, and why?
That's for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that I've never been, part of the high level strategic discussions. Certainly not before this this retinue set out. But just by virtue of me being one of a total of 5 people in this retinue means that I'm hearing things now at a level that I never would have back at the palace. And I'm no expert in strategy, but it feels like um, we're really sort of taking a lot of risk by having this small retinue go out seeking an alliance, but it feels like we don't really need this alliance. Like we are not so at risk or so threatened by our enemies that we need to take a risk of this kind just to secure a distant ally. It feels like there must be something that required the queen to be away from the palace. But I don't think it was her decision to go out. So I don't think that it was someone planning to like betray her because it was her idea. But for some reason, she wanted to be away from her own capital. And so this idea of seeking out this ally feels like, I mean, maybe we're really going to do it, but it also feels like, why was this necessary for that? So I can't help but wonder if maybe something's going to happen back at the palace.
Like a red wedding, maybe.
Mm.
Who knows?
Hmm.
Do you feel like intimidated listening to like the political talk and things like that?
I I was more shocked just because I hadn't really anticipated that at all, even though it makes sense with such a small group. I was just shocked to suddenly hear, uh, the queen and her man at arms, sergeant at arms, just suddenly discussing high level, top secret military strategy right in front of me. I felt like I was, I should have like plugged my ears or turned away or something, but then that felt silly and nobody looked at me and suggested that I shouldn't be there. And so I just did my best to roll with it, but it seemed I just had never seen, I didn't see it coming.
Hmm.
And yet I don't hear any conversations about these things that I suspect. So I'm still just going by what I hear, not seeming like it fully adds up. But does that mean that there are other conversations I'm still not hearing, or does that mean that I am seeing something that maybe even they don't see?
Are you afraid that they're not worried about you hearing top secret government uh, stuff because they know you're not going to be around much longer?
I mean, that at a certain level, with this is the queen. Um, Everything that she's doing is kind of above my pay grade by default, and so I'm gonna do what I'm told. Um, and it's like I was saying earlier that I knew when I signed up for the job, and certainly when I had my sort of recommitment, renewal of my vows, so to speak. Um, I knew I might be asked to give my life for the queen, and I'm still willing to do that. I just, I feel like I could serve her better if I understood more what was going on.
Stop it. In your eyes, what makes the queen ugly? Her absolute selfishness.
What's the most selfish thing you've ever seen her do?
There's so many. I mean, I've seen her take the biggest piece of pie, the last piece of bread, when there were other people who hadn't even eaten yet. She's just selfish. She only thinks about herself. Bubba.
Is she selfish, you think, on a personal level, or is it because um, she believes that the queen is due these things?
She's entitled. She's the queen. If she wants it, it's hers. So if she's still hungry, she doesn't care.
Do you think at a certain level she has a right to be selfish?
No, I don't. Like, what makes her special? Just that she has a crown? Anybody could have one. I don't think that having power and the responsibility that she holds is gives her any right or entitlement to anything. So, Starla, you had a vivid dream about the queen. What about it surprised you?
Um, I think what surprised me most is realizing how much I disliked her. Because before I was just doing my job, right? And pays the bills, that kind of thing. But when I had this dream, it was almost like I could see her for, not that I had been ignoring things, I just hadn't really been paying attention. And in this dream, it was more like like compilations of memories almost, like things I had heard her say, just little looks I'd seen her give and just hadn't really registered. Um, so yeah, the having that real vivid dream kind of put everything into clarity for me. Snapped it into focus.
was in this dream?
The dream itself, well, dreams don't often make sense. And there was a banquet and I was there. Sort of. Like I was seated at the table, but it was like I wasn't there. And it was the being able to watch all of the interactions without really drawing any notice to myself. So it's like I could focus in on the different people that were around me, and just the queen was so very not, she was not kind, but also very, there's just something about her that's very cutting. Um and it's not even mean. It's this entitlement kind of thing. Um that she's better than everybody. And I get it. She's queen, whatever. But it manifests in a very grotesque kind of way. And you have to really be looking for it to see it.
Do you think that other people see these things more openly? Like it's more obvious to other people?
Well, ever since I had that dream, I've been paying more attention to the people around us, the people that come and go. And there's just little ways that people will carry themselves slightly differently when they think she's paying attention. Um, so it's not that I've pinpointed any really. Well, I mean, her cousin obviously is not a huge fan. Like, I've seen the way she looks at that necklace. And honestly, the queen has ordered me to put it out on display a time or two, just on her dresser. She doesn't ever wear it, but I know why she does it. And I see now, once I started paying more attention, I see the effect that these little slights have on people like her cousin and other people around her. She doesn't blatantly mistreat people, but there are just these sidelong glances of slights that just they add up. It'd be hard to say that anyone has a lot of deeply embedded fondness for her outside of, oh, it's the queen, it's our duty to, love and obey, that kind of thing.
Sometimes you think you might be the queen's favorite. Why? And why does that worry you? Also, don't forget if you feel conflicted or you don't think that that kind of coincides with your vision for who you are, you can pass.
Oh, that was to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Um,
You want me to
say
read it again?
Yes, please.
You sometimes think you might be the queen's favorite. Why? And why does that worry you?
Hmm. I definitely think she favors me. She knows how loyal I am and how hard I push myself for her and for the queendom. Um, it worries me because I think think that she thinks too much of me, and that there really are better people for some of the tasks that she would rather have me do. And um, I'm just one man. I can only get so much done in a day. And uh, even if I point out to her that there are people who are more knowledgeable, you know, in a particular field, she'll often insist that I'm the one that does a particular thing. Um, and I think that's a weak point of hers.
Are you worried that she'll work you to death?
I'm worried that she's not getting the best information that she could get to make uh, very important decisions.
Do you ever wonder if those those places that seem like mistakes might be because she knows something that you don't, and she's not sharing? Or does that not even cross your mind?
It crosses my mind. Um, but um, uh, you know, uh, from my point of view, you know, if she asked me to do brain surgery on her, I'd give it a try, but I'm not the best person for that task. You probably want someone who's a surgeon, who's done some brain surgeries before. And, uh, you know, if you want a legal opinion on something, you ask a lawyer. You don't ask a warrior. Uh, you know, I can general an army. I can do tactics and strategies and
Murders.
logistics, the occasional murder. Um, but I'm not a plumber. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. There's a whole lot of things I am not that she would rather have me be the one to do certain things. You know, I mean, I can eventually unclog a toilet, but there are people who are a lot better at it.
So, Christiana, the
Mm-hmm.
Queen made you feel something you had never felt before. Do you want it to happen again?
I felt like, that time in the palace when I, for one of the only times in my whole life, had a secret, something that I knew I was gonna do that I couldn't tell anybody. And then she just saw me, and it felt like she could see everything about me with just a look. I really just felt so in awe of her that she just really deserved everything that I could give her. And I do, I've striven to do that in every way that I can. And I think, there was just this perception of her as just perfection. Like she knew everything, she could do anything. And with these sort of unanswered questions that I've had about some of the choices that have led to this expedition we're on, I have faith that she knows what she's doing, but because I don't understand it, I'm deprived of that feeling of being able to appreciate the perfection of it. And so I guess I just have to wait until all is revealed.
Do you really believe that everything will be revealed?
Well, maybe not to me, but I can hope. It may be that my part will not ever lead me to that path again. Um, but I can just hope that it will, that I'll understand. I mean, if it doesn't, I don't know what I could do about it. I wouldn't choose to do anything else.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Nada?
No. No. Okay. Um, the queen sometimes shows interest in your personal life. How do you respond to that, and why? Um, I like to at least make it look like things are going really, really well for me, because there's always been this part of me that just wants her to envy me as much as I envy her. So even if things aren't going great or they're just downright rotten, I will lie to her and make it seem like they are fabulous, because I don't want her to see me suffer.
I feel like we're having a competition for who's got the saddest story here.
Well, that is often how this
Well, I'm not
game
competing for it.
goes. It can happen in a different order, of course. But I feel like the most common arc in games of this that I have played is generally you start with more positive cards and then it starts to sort of trend negative. Um, but I guess in principle it could go the other way.
Yeah, it's fun to be dramatic and political too.
Mhm.
I mean, that's like one of the best parts of this game, is that you have the option for the machinations and
Mhm.
murder.
Oh, it wasn't a complaint. I just think it's funny.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it may be too just that the cards are designed to produce a complicated outcome, but
Mhm.
just by nature of the narratives we're used to, if the queen is not all good, that makes them start to seem more bad than good.
Yeah. I mean, you were doing great there with her until we found out about your secret plot to have her ambushed.
Surprised me too.
Surprise! Oh. Okay. So the queen once had you punished. What about the memory of that will stay with you forever?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing was that I didn't deserve it. Um, because I didn't actually do the thing I was being punished for. Um, in fact, I wasn't even in the room when it happened. Um, but she just, it didn't matter what I said she wouldn't hear it. And then, of course, nobody else would hear it. So I think what I really remember most about it is just feeling so completely powerless and without any control. And it was just so unjust and unfair. And it was not, the punishment itself was not terrible. I mean, the scars will sort of fade, but I mean, it's not, I've seen worse. Yeah, I think it was more the wrongness of it and how there was just there was no room for even arguing with her. Because then she probably just would have had my tongue, you know? So yeah, that kind of helplessness and powerlessness and just not being able to even defend myself. I don't ever want to be in that position again.
Did you ever find out who actually did the thing you were accused of?
Yes and no. She was bored and accused me of cutting off a piece of her hair, when in reality she was the only one in the room, but couldn't say anything against her. She was just bored and wanted something to do.
You think it wasn't even a misunderstanding where she scapegoated you for something real. She invented it completely.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Makes me the specific nature of the offense for which you were punished gives parallels and echoes to what the price you've asked for your betrayal.
Yeah, I thought that kind of matched up nicely.
Mm-hmm. In for a lock, in for a wig.
Who's got the last laugh?
Who's got the last hairpin now? So, Paul, what did you bring with you that endangers the queen?
Hmm. Hmm.
Was it
Oh.
Buster? You brought Buster?
Uh. No. Uh, I brought with me a suitcase nuke.
Hmm.
Wow.
If these negotiations don't go the way that she wants, I'm planning on taking the head off of the snake by leaving it on a timer and us walking right back to our own queendom.
Wow. Does she know?
No.
Well,
Ooh.
that escalated quickly.
Does anybody know?
Jesus.
Nope.
So is it on a timer that if you don't turn it off in time, it'll just automatically go off, or will you set the timer when you feel like it's right?
I will set the timer when I feel like when we're getting ready to leave, I will have found a place to hide it and I will arm it and uh and then I'll probably put it on like a 1 day timer or something so we have plenty of time to get away. And a few kilotons, some radiation, their king, their queen, their royal court, their school of war. Goodbye.
Wow.
So
So
if she go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like no wonder perhaps that you didn't bat an eye at a little extended family murder if this is the sort of thing you get up to without even being asked.
This is a desperate situation. Normally, she would travel with, you know, well over 100 people just for guards. Um, there would be a whole royal retinue. Just the four of us going? Uh, there's, you know, there's something here that could end her reign. And as long as I'm alive, I'm going to try and make sure that that doesn't happen.
So the queen is responsible for the death of someone that you loved. Who was it and what happened?
Hmm. I think gosh, I'm trying to think how to build this in without going against anything I said already. Maybe it was just like I didn't really have family, so to speak, but I I wonder if the person that yeah, you know what? I'll go for it. This was my first impulse. The person that I was gonna free is someone that I hadn't been in contact with for some time, but whom I had once really cared a great deal for. Like we came up together, and the fact that I was in there and part of that, that the people from that region was why they thought to approach me, and I think that certainly even though they were offering me the bribe for it, I had really complicated feelings about them becoming this high level dissident. Um, but then, once so I felt a lot of sorrow that they had put themselves in this position where they were, uh, sentenced to be executed for their sedition and all of that. And I felt regret, but at the same time, it felt like something that they had brought about with their own decisions, and that I had to make my own. And it was maybe something that, yeah, I've had to come to peace with the idea that I could not have really saved them, because even if I had let them out of prison, they would have just kept doing what they were doing until they were killed some other way.
Is there ever a part of you that thinks that maybe if you had followed through with it, that they might have succeeded and overthrown the queen?
Oh,
Stop.
I think they were wrong-headed. I wouldn't have wanted that to happen. So the only thing I could have really hoped for was that they would maybe recognize how close they had come, and maybe be willing to go back to a quieter life, but I didn't really believe that that would ever happen. If only they knew the queen like I
Right? If only. Does anybody else have any questions?
No.
No? Okay. What is the most difficult part of this journey? What makes you so adept at overcoming it? Um, I think the most difficult part is that there is still a part of me that remembers when we were small and she was innocent and I loved her. And the thing that makes it so easy to overcome that is remembering all the things that she has done to me since and all the ways that her innocence has died.
How did you contribute to her innocence dying?
I didn't. I was there for her.
When was the first time that you really noticed a change?
I think when her father fell ill and she grew closer to taking his place, there was a big shift in her personality. Like she knew that she had to take control and be responsible, but I think it went to her head.
Do you think it would be possible to be queen without losing your innocence? Or
No, I don't think that. I think that anyone who comes into that position would have to sacrifice a great deal of their innocence. But I think she took it farther. Like she became very cruel and cold and heartless. So, how can people tell just by looking at you that you serve the queen? And do you mind it being so obvious?
Darla goes
Well,
after you. Oh, yep.
yeah, it wasn't. So all of her personal servants all bear the same mark. Um, we all have a tattoo right like on our collarbone. So it hurts when you get it too. um, at first, it was a mark of pride for me. But the longer I was in service, the less proud I was of that. You know, that it was not so much shame, but knowing I wouldn't ever be able to erase that mark, you know, without um, deforming myself in some way. Um, so yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, I suppose. Like it was a point of pride, and it is now not.
Have you ever thought about maiming yourself to get rid of it?
Well, not while I'm still working for her. um, maybe later, but for now, it stays. But I have considered it for future.
What does it look like?
Let me see. It is a. It's very similar to her crown, so it's that crescent moon shape with stars kind of circling the top of it. So, yeah, it's not a huge mark, but it's enough that, you know, people notice it. So yeah, it's the crescent moon with a crown of stars.
Marked like property. So, Paul, the Queen has ordered you not to speak to another member of the retinue. Who is it? And do you know why?
Hmm. I think it's her cousin. And I'm thinking that her cousin might be some kind of a sacrificial pawn in these negotiations. And I don't know exactly what's going on, but things like this have happened before. Um, and it could be that I'm going to be asked to murder her or have her married off, whether she wants to go or not. And the queen is giving me some mental space to make sure that uh, there's no um, emotions tangled up, that I'm not too close with her when the time comes for her to finally tell me what it is that's going to happen.
Has she shown you those kind of considerations before? Like, does this feel familiar?
Yeah, it, that yeah, she's done this before, had me um, not talk to people, avoid certain people when she was getting ready to uh, have me do something. So she's kind of playing the same playbook as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. Oh, the queen is under attack.
Ah.
Do you
Finally.
defend her?
Hell no.
Hell
Hell
no.
yes.
I'm the one who attacks her. I brokered the ambush for you.
Pull a good old, Lady Tyrell. I want her to know it was me.
Yes.
uh,
Tell her.
uh, I I do, but as I do, my heart is breaking because the fact that this is happening makes it feel like she didn't have it all under control after all, and makes me question myself even as I am fighting to defend her.
Christiana and I are back to back.
Does
Well, it
the
might be
bomb
hard to
go
do
off?
that if I've
Do we
slit
all
your
die?
throat in your sleep.
That's true. Like if we were plotting this, you might have had to be on your toes. Like we have to sleep sometime.
hmm
Is
And
that
I'm
bomb on a
hairdresser,
dead
so
man
I
switch?
probably got a straight razor. I'm gonna Sweeney Todd his ass like.
Because we know.
I'm just thinking about that bomb that nobody knew about. It's
Right?
like,
We'd be like, I can just see it now. Starla and I'd be like, yeah, we got him. What was he carrying in this case? Was it my cool dowry? And we open it up and
And it's like,
explode.
it's locked. Wang, bang, bang, bang.
And then we're all dead.
very nice. I think headcanon accepted, or even just regular canon, because sounds like it is. All right, well, that's
Any
an
different
explosive finish.
than a hand cannon, a head cannon.
And cannon.
All right, well, that is for the Queen, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Um, Hopefully, we will be back up to our full complement of players next week when we return for more adventure on so many levels.
So many
Oh,
levels.
So
many
many levels.
Yay.
And murders.